We are live. This is the Market Update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Are you going to be able to get on this train in time? Yes, you are. You are. Why? Because XRP and Solana could be next. And they're just sitting around and they're down. And, it's time. Also, a Bitcoin supply shock is, I think, imminent. Right? That's going to get to critical mass where all the Bitcoin disappears off exchanges. Institutions are most likely buying all the Bitcoin they can from either China or, I don't think the US, but China is the only seller I can think of. But corporate buyers are already overwhelming what's being produced by miners. Meanwhile, I don't know who the seller in altcoins is. Like, what is preventing Solana from going straight up the way Ethereum did? Does anybody know why Ethereum went up? I mean, we do, because they bought the Ethereum ETF and because Ethereum was so oversold versus everything. But what is preventing that, a similar phenomenon from leaping over into other areas like XRP and Solana? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you got to have, I think, in my opinion, your Solana and XRP bags packed. Okay, let's welcome who's here on the stream, right? We have Tyler first on the stream. Welcome. Carmenko Zepedas from Hungary. Welcome, sir. Good morning. Ben Egert, SGSG, the original MJ Hits. Blown Ideas, good morning from the 5 a.m. club. Strong, right? Jav Mitchell, what's up? Roby, hello. Thanks for the reply yesterday about the currency exchange. No problem, sir. Stefan, been a minute since I could watch a live. No problem, sir. Thomas, hello. Leo, good morning. Okay, news. Hedge funds capitulate. Basically, they got short absolutely everything. Everything. They got short like it was the end of the world. And I sat here and told you it wasn't. It never was the end of the world. It just looked like it. Okay? Record shorting by hedge funds. Like this is like they've never been more short. It was worse than 2020. U.S. fundamental long short, they're still short. They're still short, right? I continue to believe equities are like range bound. Tech earnings. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get tech earnings back outperforming the way they were. Meanwhile, over here, everyone's chill. All of these graphs forecasting disaster, like disaster up, back down. Currency volatility. Whoops. This is fear in currencies. Bond market volatility. Bond market volatility hasn't gone all the way back down yet because of that scary trade that didn't work. Everything is collapsing on the negativity front. So I used to work with this guy citing charts on tariffs going back to the 1800s to forecast the next recession, literally referencing a time before light bulbs to explain an app-based AI-powered economy. That's not analysis, that's nostalgia. The whole definition of a recession is ridiculous. If we're in a weak economic growth, sluggish employment environment, we've been there for 2 years. Matter of fact, you could make an argument that since the orange man, stepped in Hershey Kiss and came out smelling like a rose, you know, this may end. And it's going to end with crypto screaming higher. Because what they did was they broke everything to just a point where people started paying attention to say, I don't know, government spending, currency, you know, currency fragility, not to mention new forms of tech. And memes are brewing, right? The Fed balance sheet, they've been tightening this whole time. And if that balance sheet turns around, because Powell was like, well, we don't know. We don't know about this. We don't know about that. Well, bro, now you do. Now you do. And the deficit spending continues. So, I mean, that leaves easing monetary policy. Now, he doesn't have to do it because the job numbers are okay. But this is fertile ground for crypto, right? Spending without fear. Irresponsible government without the end of the world equals crypto up massively, massively. Okay, so Cantor Fitzgerald equity partner discloses $458 million Bitcoin acquisition. Bitcoin treasury company made the purchase with Tether at an average price of $95,000 per Bitcoin. So at 77, it was radioactive, but at 95, it's much more attractive. And there'll be a lot of people who pay 105, 110 and drive it to 120. Because now it's basically like you have to have it. If you're a corporation, and you don't have it, there's something wrong with you. It's kind of getting to that point. And then, you know, the orange man is still I have the tweet this morning. They're all pivoting in that directions, right? Okay, so Doomberg. What do we got on Doomberg? Harvard, right? Weaker dollar. They're making deals in Asia to get a weaker dollar. They did it with the Taiwan dollar. Now they're working on it overseas. Notice nothing about tariffs. Nothing. It's over, right? The end of the world didn't show up. Okay, Orange Man lifting sanctions on countries. I don't know if this is true, but supposedly they were dancing in the streets. The Orange Man wants to do business with everybody. He wants all the business that can happen, all the growth that can happen to happen, because the only way out, and this is an old line of mine, the only way out of a $37 trillion deficit is to grow everything. And that includes crypto, especially crypto, because crypto and AI are the only thing, are two of the areas where we can seriously lead in. Again, Trump opened to weaker dollar. So what the tariff tantrum is going to give you is lower dollar. Gold is not an alternative because gold was a part of the fear trade. So that's probably in a range. What else is there? Crypto. eToro goes public at $52 per share, far exceeding the market range. Right? So that's stocks, probably also crypto. Again, anything that gets through to Gen Z on capital markets is going to trade at a premium because they're not going to go through Morgan Stanley or Bank of America. They're just not. El Salvador, stacking. Orange Man says, I'm a big crypto fan. Okay, more JD Vance memes. Who knew that JD Vance was going to be like meme central? I mean, the guy serves as a great vice president just because of that alone. No Bitcoin left on exchanges, none. Miners aren't selling. A supply shock is brewing. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable, right, that everything is disappearing off exchanges. And the only way to get Bitcoin is through these over-the-counter deals like Someone calls up Tether and says, hey, can we get Bitcoin from one place to the other? That's the only way to get substantial amounts of Bitcoin, and that ends at some point. And at some point could be soon. It could be around this crypto conference, which again, if you look at consensus starts today, but I think consensus feels a little bit boring out of Toronto. I don't know why anybody would go to any of these countries that have surveillance states to do crypto. I have a tweet from France that you're not going to believe. You're not going to believe it. Metric singles 250K Bitcoin. So a month ago, everything was going to zero. That was 30 days ago. Everything was going to zero. Bitcoin is the best case for 250K. Yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe. You don't know what can happen into next year. Solana, hyperliquid, tapped for gains. Okay. Again, and I like this. While Bitcoin Cash dies a slow heat death. Interesting how they're giving up on Bitcoin Cash. Because remember, when normies all show up, they're going to see green Bitcoin, and they may go for that. And they may also go for Litecoin. And Litecoin may be a currency that gets accepted. Steak and Shake should have taken Litecoin. I get it. They want to get Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But, whenever the media says something's dead, you know what to do. You get immediately long, right? Okay, Bitcoin remains unmatched as a global inflation hedge. Okay, actually, that's wrong. Because when inflation was going up, Bitcoin kind of suffered when the Fed was too tight. Now, sort of, right? Bitcoin is a hedge against excessive government spending. That's what Bitcoin is a hedge from. So if governments continue to spend, right, they're devaluing the currency either versus gold or versus crypto. The only way to devalue the dollar is through crypto. This like little teeny weeny market compared to what the rest of global markets are. So what does this mean for you? Well, you probably think that it's too late. And that's crazy. Like you didn't buy the bottom. So what? You didn't get it less than 100. So what? Look where Solana is. Solana hasn't gone anywhere in a year. Right? You got time. Now, get urgent about your prosperity. Alarm bells ringing in US over OpenAI's crypto project world. If you don't do crypto, if we don't do crypto, the Web2 Skynet guys will. You start looking at eyeball scans and you start looking at this stuff and think, well, you know what? It's not a big deal. Like, why complain about it? No one's going to get upset. It doesn't. And you're right. It doesn't affect anybody's day-to-day life for now. Right. It's like they're feeding this to some computer. And the urge to get prosperous, get on AI programs during the day. Like I'm on it all day. Like my business partner's like, what did we do before this? My answer is half or like a quarter of what we can do now. But this is coming. And you got to get crypto. You got to buy it and you got to hodl it. Or, there's got to be something that you hodl and then you just got to learn it. You got to trade it. Whatever you want to do, if you're involved, that's what you got to be. Because this is no bueno. No bueno. They're going to do it. The other guy wants to do stable coins. Meanwhile, in Paris, attempted kidnapping a woman with her 2-year-old child Mourning on the streets of Paris. The target is allegedly the daughter of a crypto CEO. I don't know what's going on over there, but if you cross them, you're going to jail. It's like East Germany back in the Tom Clancy spy days. Cross a European government and you're going to jail. Now, you can't say the same thing over here because, we took anybody who was protesting about stuff in the Middle East on college campuses and dropped the hammer on them. But this is unbelievable. I mean, how does anybody who's like, this is the same group that picked up the guy from Telegram who's Russian and put him in jail. Right. And, when the market goes down, this is when this is time to remember these stories. Right. It's like, oh, it went down. I'm scared. Or I bought the top and I'm not involved. Right. If you're not involved, get involved. If you're involved, get more involved. Like, just don't stop. Just don't stop. Coinbase plans to launch Coinbase Cardano, Coinbase Doge. You'll be able to run anything on Coinbase. I'm sure that's fascinating. Like, I read this morning, and believe it or not, the first thing I said is buy Solana. Because it feels like they're making this complicated rather than taking base, have it be a fertile ground for altcoins, and then, as soon as possible, launching that stuff to Coinbase. Can you see the general public going, oh, wow, this is cool. I can buy wrapped Cardano on Base. What? You can buy Cardano on Coinbase exchange. Whatever. I'm sure this has DeFi implications, but I looked at this and I said, this is the best they can do. Not to be a jerk. Not to be a jerk at all. Okay. So antivirus hanging out above 6 cents. Can it go to a dime on a line? You know what? If Solana gets going, and it may need Solana to get going at this point. If Solana gets going, man, all of these Solana-based memes, watch out. This, of course, has a privacy angle to it. Okay, PowerPoint. I got a little bit of PowerPoint for you this morning. Whoops. Okay, we got courtesy of my buddy Andy. I didn't even notice was on TradingView. Maybe hard to see. This is the Federal Reserve balance sheet. So everybody in crypto is in love with this M2 overlay where money supply goes up and crypto follows. That's fine. Okay. But that's skewed by Chinese money supply. Now, this is how much money the Fed prints. So when the Fed prints money, it doesn't just print money and hand it out to people, although that might be a good idea. But in this particular case, right, the Fed balance sheet has been shrinking, meaning they're printing less money because when they print, they don't hand it out. They buy assets. They buy stocks. They buy gold. They buy treasury bonds mostly, right, to keep interest rates down. But they haven't been doing that. And that's because they're completing a rate hike cycle to fight inflation, even though I don't think that ever worked. I think the thing that broke inflation was when the orange man broke the stock market, and that jammed the brakes on the economy, period. So the point of this graph is, you see how it's got that like bend to it? It's like, okay, we've stopped shrinking the balance sheet. Like we buy assets, put it on the balance sheet, right? So less printing. The balance sheet is rolling off, less printing, and then it's going to turn around right here. Yeah, and you know why it's going to turn around? Because they can't stop spending. 6% of deficits as far as the eye can see. Zero deficit cutting after all the hoo-ha about Doge, which again was another thing, right? Doge is awesome. Elon's got the chainsaw. You know, Elon, I think, takes a substance for depression. I don't want to say it on the air. I mean, that's fine. People got to do what they got to do. But yeah, maybe a little too much of that. Something is going to break, and Bitcoin is your safe word. They're not going to stop spending. And he wants to do tax cuts on top of it. Now, the people's taxes he's talking about cutting, it's not material, but they just continue to spend. It's just they won't stop it. And if you look over here, it's already like Eagle King, like just as it's happening, this congressman who's not going along with the BS in Washington. Spending is the problem. For 2 decades, federal spending averaged 20% of what we make. Okay, during cough, cold, and flu, it jumped to 30%, and it's currently at 23%. If we cut taxes without cutting spending, an even greater fraction of American productivity will be consumed by interest on the debt. Like the amount of interest we pay on the debt is an issue. It's like $1 trillion a year. So again, they're not going to stop spending. I mean, Congress will be like, yeah, we'll let the orange man do whatever he wants. But if you come in and tell me that my district, you're pulling the sugar out of my district or my state, forget about it. It's not happening. It's got Bitcoin written all over it and the whole rest of crypto. Got to build a whole new system because these guys aren't responsible, regardless of whether you like the government in power or not. I mean, there's no other way. All roads, like here's the world. Here's all the problems. All roads lead to crypto. Not to mention that crypto is prosperity, right? What are we talking about every day? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about all this negative stuff? Yeah, we talk about the negative stuff because the negative stuff is designed to point you to the positive stuff. Like we're going to wake up every day. It's like, okay, what are we going to get involved in? What AI DeFi things? Like what about, Numer AI, like the hedge fund? Like, where are the AI hedge funds? A little thing from Ganwork. Okay, come off this for just a second. Something from Ganwork. In 2018, you had an ICO crash. You had an altcoin crash because you had excessive issuance of new altcoins, which created huge pump and dumps. It was kind of almost like meme coins, except for tech coins. So everything went up, and it crashed. That was 7 years ago. Now, the way GAN works is history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. So 2018, massive altcoin meltdown. 7 years later, you're going to have a 2025 altcoin melt up. The meltdown in 2018 was pretty much the whole year. Bitcoin went from like 14K to 3K. Just destroyed. We're going to go in reverse, going in reverse of that, right? It's like, seeing this launch coin. I have to research this. Launch coin, Solana, trending on CoinGecko. Listen, watch out in Solana. Watch out. So one thing you're going to have to get used to is robots. The robot trade is a $10 trillion market. This is why the orange man wanted the factories over here. This guy thinks it's 50 trillion. Low birth rate. Okay. The first use case of humanoid robots will be manufacturing. This is why the orange man wanted factories over here. Now, of course, Skynet, OpenAI, robot terminators. Okay. Yeah. What AI coins have robotics angles? Now, I know artificial superintelligence does, or Fetch, FET. What else? Like what AI coin is decentralized software that can be used in either AI or robotics? Maybe there aren't any, but I think there are. There's Fetch for sure. So if there's a $50 trillion market, there will be some form of decentralized software that's used for robotics, or software that is not made by a big company. Like whatever conglomerate makes up artificial superintelligence token, it's a developer of AI outside of Web 2. But, robotics will be the trade of our lifetime outside of crypto. Outside of crypto, for sure. Okay. So Solana down. Now, here's the catch, right? Solana is down, but Lux Algo has put support right underneath the rally. Right? This is the beauty of the Lux Algo system. It puts the support, and all Solana is doing is sitting on support. And XRP, right? XRP is having support inserted underneath it, right? And if XRP keeps going, it's going to have a floor at 250. I don't think anyone's really asking themselves, like, why did Ethereum go up? Do we know? I don't think so. Can the same thing happen to other layer ones? Actually, Sui went up. We didn't know what that was about. Then Ethereum went up. Okay, what's the next one? It's got to be Solana and XRP, right? It's got to be, I call it, look out below was an old-fashioned saying about a crash, and this is look out above. Like what stops this? I don't know. These AI coins, Cash, right? All these decentralized software, afraid of the 200-day moving average. We did this yesterday, right? Fetch AI down 4%, breaks out of a cup and handle, and now it's consolidating between Lux Algo support and the 200-day moving average, and the breakout from this thing will be epic. Right? And that and me. So Bitcoin Cash is dead. No one wants that, according to B+ journalism majors. So that makes me automatically want to get long. Let's look at the weekly chart. Okay, so this will show you what the media knows. So in Bitcoin Cash, you have this giant triangle, right? From Lux Algo. And what you did was you went up, you tested the top of the triangle, and then you went down below the bottom. And normally when you do that, when you have a false breakout from a formation, once you test the bottom, once you go through the bottom and you come back up, you're going to go through the top. So Bitcoin Cash, it probably won't go all the way up there, but Bitcoin Cash at 700, anyone? Anyone, right? In other words, PEAQ. Most of these tech coins, finance, DeFi, related things, still down. They haven't gone anywhere. I think Ski Mask Dog is the same thing. Like, it's a joke, right? You got to get on Ski Mask Dog like a tall dog with short paws. You got to get on this stuff, right? I mean, this stuff traded at huge market caps, and the upside target on this, just like the whole rest of the market, is way above where we are right now. It's not way above, but it pulled up short of the target, which means it can go beyond the target, in my opinion. I mean, it's just not going to stop. Right? It's just not going to stop. Arendam, Old Smoky, what's going on? Now let's go to DeMark. So we have MicroStrategy, right? Remember this? They must watch the show. You could have 3 more big up days here. Coinbase stock, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, I know this is not necessarily exciting because everyone's like, well, you want me to get long MicroStrategy, but you got to kind of watch out for a blow off top like in Bitcoin. You had kind of a blow off top in ETH yesterday. And again, Solana, right? Here's your 13 top. No reaction. No one cares. No one cares about the top signal. Like, what do you get? A 1% decline? You may even get one on the weekly chart. And I know that's kind of crazy to say, you know, Bill, if you get topping signals and they don't work. Now, that said, Solana has a big point at 180. Solana has never been able to stay above 180. Like, they did these huge overshoots off the election, and then it went right back down again. Will Solana be able to get a monthly close above 180? If it does, what about meme summer? I don't think anyone's talking about that, really. I mean, meme summer, I mean, that should get people excited, right? Because that means speculative juices are coming back hard. Now, again, we talked about this. We should probably look at a different coin. We have Hedera. I'm sorry, we have Algorand. Now, what are you noticing? So Algorand was in a range, or is in a range. They broke through the bottom. So what's it going to do? Bitcoin did this. It's going to go through the top. Right? The range for Bitcoin, technically, the big range I said was going to be 88, 89 to 102. So they went down below it, and as soon as they reclaimed it, it was gone. And now it's just literally sitting on top of this, right? It's a recipe for a major, like, thrust launch. So it may be something like sits at 105 or 102, launches itself to 112, maybe comes back to 102, maybe. Or it just launches itself to a new level and sits there. The way XRP and all these other coins literally just sit there. They just sit there. Now, you start moving over into these crypto equities, right? Coinbase included in the S&P 500. And if you look at this on a monthly chart, do you realize Coinbase, when it came out, reached a high of like 400? Currently, it's at 257. Bitcoin is at a massive all-time high. And Coinbase's stock, even though it's doing great because it's being included in the S&P 500, is nowhere near its high. Like, nowhere near. Riot Platforms, Bitcoin mining, $9 a share. The resistance is at 12. Okay. The high from the election was 15. And these guys aren't selling Bitcoin. We had the news, these guys are effectively Bitcoin hedge funds. Now, I don't know what their cost of production is. That is a question. But this is the only organic source of Bitcoin. And you're already seeing IPOs, seeing companies buying each other. They're getting positioned for the inevitable. And I also think, even though, the excitement factor is debatable, but what happens if the ETH rally is a warning that all the, what I would call the big cap tech names explode, like Chainlink? Here's your shoulder, here's your head, here's your shoulder. Or this is a rounding bottom. Either way, right? Chainlink can go from 17 to 28. Now you have to ask yourself, if Chainlink goes from 17 to 28, that means you got to have multiple blockchains rocking at the same time. Sui, Solana, ETH, Bitcoin, right? They've been going separately. And what happens is after, when this conference approaches in 10 days, they all go together. This is one of the things that, like I said, none of this has crossed anybody's mind. And there was news this morning on synthetics, which again is boomer DeFi. I get it. But there are a lot of small caps that are trying to get Wall Street on the blockchain, and they're going to do it with AI. Like, send your money to a wallet and AI is going to go out and do the complex derivative stuff and pay you if the AI is right on the trading decisions. Like, synthetics at the start of the year was at $3.40, and currently it's sitting at 92 cents. The top of the range is $1.60 via DeMark. And everyone thinks this can't happen. All you need is one real world asset announcement, right? I mean, I got something here from my buddy Andy that I could read, hopefully. Let me see if I was smart enough to get it in here. Yeah, okay. So here's what he says about the world in general and crypto. The AI trade is not dead. If anything, it's regaining momentum. Let me just turn this off. The AI trade is not dead. If anything, it's regaining momentum, reminding markets that tokens, not tariffs, may be the real catalyst for the next leg higher. That was the message from hedge fund and tech investor legend, right? Co-founder of a certain company. Goldman's TMT trader seems to be in agreement. Time for the next new leg higher in this sector. Tokens are much greater than tariffs. So I sort of view AI tokens to an AI model is like fuel to a car or electricity to a computer. Right? How do you get long the future? Now, that requires some research, or it just requires general involvement through a big cap crypto like Bitcoin or Solana. Like, if you're long Bitcoin or Solana, even though that's not exciting, that's the future. You gotta walk into work every day on the crypto front and say, okay, the whole world's going to change, and you're in on the ground floor. Your kids will ask you, what did you buy before robots came about? Or your robot will ask you what the world was like before robots. Think about it, right? You have the opportunity to get long this stuff while everyone is literally sleeping. Don't sleep on crypto. Okay, people, that's the market update for today. We will see you tomorrow. Remember, red days, that's when you go. We'll see you tomorrow.